Hi, everyone. Hey. Jarek said, hoping that you're not drunk. I'm actually hoping you are drunk. Because, we have come to, almost the end of this awesome event in this awesome location. And I'm super impressed by the level of energy. Every time I come into Kyiv, I'm like, wow, this is like the place where you recharge your batteries. And thanks to Jarek, thanks to Pavlo. This is an awesome event. And okay, let's talk about boring things. So my presentation is called Serving Your B2B Product with Style, and we'll talk how to grow your user activation by optimizing the onboarding phase. So I work at PandaDoc, like Eric said. Has anyone here heard about PandaDoc? Okay, nice, awesome. It's more and more people each year, which is great. So we're growing. We're a B2B SaaS tool to help sales teams win more business and close more deals. We have more than 14,000 customers worldwide. So we work preferably in the US market. And we have around 250 employees in US, Belarus, Philippines, and about $19 million of annual recurring revenue. So we're like a startup that started in Belarus and then went worldwide, and we're doing good. We're growing. So what I will talk about today. Any marketing website usually has some promises. For example, you see this promise, this brand promise on a website. It says, try our new product. It has awesome features. It has sweet organic potatoes, fiber-rich carrots, easy digestible protein, some perfect gravy on top. It's sounds so good, sounds so good. So you sign up for the product, you enter the product, and you see this. And you're like, well, okay. Well, it has the features, it does have the features mentioned. So it has sweet organic potatoes, it has fiber-rich carrots, it has protein, some gravy. But would you eat that? Who would eat that? Okay, a couple of people. Yeah, so you can eat that. You definitely will get not that hungry, which is good. But still, this is how users often see your product when they open it. So usually the marketing websites are optimized in the way that this is the best thing ever. But when you are actually trying to use it, you're not that impressed. So the goal for you as a growth product manager is to make the first impression with your product a nicer one. So the same features could be put in like this. So this is also potatoes, some vegetables, some protein. It looks much better. Who would eat this one? Okay, more people, yeah. So the analogy is the same with your product. So it can have the awesome features, but you need to show it in the way that people want to try it, like with this nice meal. And the definition of the onboarding phase in your product is when the user enters it for the first time and he sees a lot of things around. So very often he's lost. He's lost and he doesn't know what to do. So your goal as a growth product manager is to sell hope to this user that your product is actually good enough that it will solve his or her problem, that the product is easy to use, and that you're actually know what you're doing, and you're helping the user to lead him through to the aha moment. So selling hope is your biggest goal during the onboarding phase. Again, because you won't be able to teach the person to learn how to use all of the functions of your product. You just need to show a small glimpse of things that make them believe that you're a good product to go with. Okay, there are two metrics that are usually improved by on optimizing the onboarding stage, which are low activation and slow conversion of the lead into opportunity if you have a sales funnel. So low activation metric means that many users enter the product, but they don't get activated. Don't get activated means that they do not do some core things inside of your product that shows to you that they understand what's it about. And so these metrics are usually the ones that you're improving. Activation should correlate with conversion rate into a paid customer. If it doesn't, it's probably a bad activation metric. Like it's always like a very debatable question how to find your activation metric and how to actually make it. Like if you increase the activation, will it actually increase the conversion rate? Ideally, it should. If it doesn't, you should change your activation metric. So at PandaDoc, sometime before, we had an onboarding that looked like this. So you opened up the product and you saw some pop-up with some text, next button. Does it look good? No, not really. Yeah, so only 25% of signed-up users finished this onboarding flow. And when we watched people go through it, they usually click next, 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 and they just close this onboarding tour that we think should lead them to activation. It's just not working. We also get a lot of feedback from our users that our product is clunky. Does anyone here know what clunky is? Okay, yeah, so I'll explain. Clunky is when it's like so unintuitive to use, and it's like not really, I cannot understand. I can do things here and there, but it's hard. So it makes people think of how they actually operate in this system. This is like a very nice word, and we heard it a lot, and so we thought, well, we definitely should do something with it, because like clunky is not something we want to be. We want to be cool. And the key remark here is that even if you implement like a separate stage for user onboarding, the user onboarding, like first-time user session, still does not replace good user experience in your product. Meaning that if your buttons need additional tooltips, if your navigation is not clear, if that's all not working all together, your entities in the product are not linked between each other, you won't be able to replace all these issues with just putting in a special onboarding phase in your product. So before we did that, we actually worked on our user experience and started to do a lot of user testing, and especially the empty states, because the empty states are the things that are helping your user to go through the product without the tooltips, without the guides. Empty states, they give the hint to the user what they do next in that. And of course, like the microcopy messaging is also very important. It's what helps to navigate the user without this additional tooltips on top of your interface. So we worked on that. Like here is a nice example in Notion, how they do the empty state. So when I create a new document, I don't just get like an empty space. I get a place where I could put in the title, I could put in some buttons that they give me a hint, what should I do next? And it's like looks very easy and affordable, and I can just, in a couple of clicks, I can achieve value much quicker than I would if it was just an empty sheet. Okay, so after you did that exercise, so ideally you worked on your empty states, microcopy, messaging, you're trying to improve how your product works all together, you can go on to designing a specific onboarding flow for your product. And so I'll talk about like the steps, how to do that. So step number 1 is you research your recent buyers. This is like a very easy advice. You should do interviews, if possible, with real people. Jobs to be done style, who knows what jobs to be done is? Okay, yeah, nice. So the idea of the jobs to be done style interviews is to recreate the timeline on which you have the first idea from the person, what kind of things he was looking for in Google or somewhere else, then what led him to actual purchase of your product. And on this way, you are probably will be able to find why they decided to buy your product, what product did they fire, meaning that they did things in some other ways before. For example, people who come to PandaDoc, they usually send documents in Word files, or they send PDFs through email. And so that was the old way of doing things. And we know that that's not very efficient, and we know that we can Sorry? Ah, okay, you don't see my slides. Yeah, You should told me that before. Okay, so yeah. So what product did they fire? They probably did things in some old ways, not very efficient, and you understand that during the interviews. Ideally, you do these interviews in less than 60 days after they purchased, because they still remember what actually made them think like that. This research also gives you like the context they were in to understand like where does the decision making actually happens. Then you use this knowledge to offer onboarding journeys based on these value propositions mentioned in the interviews. For example, in PandaDoc, people like repeat the same value proposition time after time, that they want to look professional, they want to save more time, and so we're using these value propositions during the onboarding phase, and we're trying to lead the user to the aha moment that helped them to understand the product. So aha moment is not something that like you should not teach a user how to do things, but you should show him like the magic, the aha moment, the magic that helps them to understand that your product is good for them. This is an example in QuickBooks. So QuickBooks is an online accounting system, which is quite complicated, but not as complicated as one S, I don't know. Like it's a little better, but still it's like a super complicated product, and they have a lot of use cases. So in order to be able to understand what to show next to the user, they show you this intermediate screen and ask about the goal. What is your goal? What would you like to do? I would like to send invoices. If you choose that, after that they show you exactly how to do this. So this is like something that also replaces the navigation of the user when they enter your product for the first time. Same thing, Vistia, ask this as well, what's your main goal in Vistia? Again, depending on what you choose, they are showing you specific things you can do in Vistia. This is an example from Miro. So they are offering you to start with some specific template that it would be easy for you, again, to get this aha moment. Like in just one click, you get like a full map already designed for you. You need only to change some things to get a map that works for you. At PandaDoc, we also tried to do this with these cards that offer users different journeys. So the people who want to see how people on the other side, the clients, will see the PandaDoc, they can test receiving a PandaDoc, or they can start with creating and sending a sample document, or they can request a free demo from our product specialist. And we changed these cards in a different ways for different people, and we get very good results with activation metric. Yeah, this is another example from QuickBooks. So like these things, they stay on your dashboard, and they explain you in some specific steps how to do things. Okay, so this was about like designing the onboarding phase, right? One more thing you should do is you should try to add some sample content into your product, because obviously in a lot of tools it's really hard to create something from scratch. So like in general, my opinion is data entry, data input is one of the hardest, like one of the biggest roadblocks during the activation phase, because users are not able to create something cool with your tool unless they're like specialists, and they're not. So in order to help them, we just add some sample content. Again, for example, like this is the same example with Miro real-time board. So they offer you a lot of ready templates that you can just drag and drop onto your Miro canvas, and like, well, to create such a board from scratch, it would take like a lot of time from me. I have never created anything from scratch in Miro, but I always use some kind of templates to tweak them and to go forward. At PandaDoc, we have a lot of templates for documents. So in order to create your own proposal, all you need to do is you need to tweak the proposals that we already have, change like your company, add your logo, and we have different kinds of proposals for different industries, and this brings like a lot of results. Like people use our templates, and they already have like nice, good-looking documents. This is an example from Notion again. So Notion, when you create a new document, they offer you a template gallery. And like this template is already pre-populated. All I need to do is I need just to change the description, and I already get a vision and mission document, which is awesome. Yeah, so content, important. Next step. Next step, you should understand that when a person enters your product for the first time, well, you can design like a nice onboarding stage, but still the people want to talk to other people, ask some questions. Very often, people who research tools, they have a very specific checklist of what they need to know about your instrument. And so in order to address this thing, you should be around. You should be able to provide a user like an easy entry point on how to get help. Yeah, so like super easy, a chat, intercom, whatever, Help Crunch. Someone from Help Crunch was here yesterday. So any kind of like a way of easy way to get help. It should be very clear to a person that you're here, you're around, you're ready to help, that you have like a very good support people who are ready to answer the questions. Because during the onboarding phase, it's like very often, people will have super specific questions before they start to use your product. Step number 5, this is important. So in order to make some changes in product, you should first analyze what you already have. You should build a funnel with like all of your steps coming in from starting from sign up and ending with the conversion. And in this funnel, you should have like this intermediate steps, which are representing your onboarding phase. It should go like from sign up to activation to something else, and conversion rate. And conversion into a paid customer. So after you build a funnel, you will actually see where your drop-offs happen, and you will be able to iterate and optimize on your onboarding phase. Because like, again, like, of course, you will have like a lot of ideas. You can probably list of all of your hypotheses, prioritize, build, measure. Important part is that you repeat all these things time and time again, because like with onboarding, it's really hard to do it right from the first time. An example from Brian Belfer was that one product they launched for HubSpot was that they had, if I'm not mistaken, like 54 iterations of the first user screen that the user saw before they actually found the one that really increased the activation and understanding of people of what the product is doing. So my point here is that you shouldn't stop just at the first iteration of your design. With your onboarding phase, like it's like the point where you can achieve like a lot of growth, because like people are already interested. So help them to find actually the way for them to use your product and to understand your product. In short, try to sell hope to your users, your potential users, that they are actually, that your product is worth it, that your product is a good one, it's going to solve their problems, and like it's easy enough to use. That's it for today. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. Here are my contacts, and we may have some more questions, right? Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah, I can see a lot of hands already. Igor, do we have a mic? Yep. We have a question here. Let's start from the first row.
Thank you for the amazing talk. As a copywriter, I'm interested, how do you approach copies and micro copies? And the question is, maybe you can give an example how a single variation in copy dramatically influenced activation.
Yeah, I would be glad to give you such an example, but I don't have one. But like on these cards, for example, that are shown like on the first screen, we had a variation of names of the cards. And so like we had like, for example, send a PandaDoc to yourself. And then we had test receiving a PandaDoc. And so even this like small change increased the interest in people into the second version. Although like no one believes that it's actually going to make people get attracted to this button. So I cannot give you the exact number, but this like was one of the examples I remember. Like everything that is like, if you have a single button, if you have just a single button on a screen, it's likely that you can try to change the wording there, and it will change something like some kind of metric. If you have like a lot of buttons and a lot of navigation points, it's really hard to to understand like what exactly how the change changed anything. Yeah. So.
Okay, one more.
Hey,
Hey.
name is Bogdan. Thanks for your speech. Have you tried to ask users whether they need the onboarding?
No, we didn't, but we also removed all of the onboarding. So we did an experiment of just removing everything. So when we had this tooltip tour, we first thing we did, we actually removed it and checked if the activation rate changed, and it didn't.
So basically, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, the bad onboarding, it was so bad that it didn't really help. But after we designed the first user session in the way that it's more designed for the user, we got a lot of positive things. For example, at least the button to book a demo right away from the product brought in very cool leads who are super interested in what we're doing.
A year ago, I've been working for one of your competitors, and we did
Which
this
one?
PDF viewer.
Ah, well,
Yeah,
they're not really
and
ours.
we did the same test, and we also didn't succeed with influence on KPIs in activation. I may tell you more if you want.
Yeah,
After.
it would be nice to talk.
Okay. Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3 on the back row.
Hi, yes.
Hi.
Thank you. I'm Anton, product designer at Carerix. It's a Dutch recruiting software. The question is, you mentioned 20 interviews, right? Why 20? Did you segment them somehow? Or is just 20 of generic users, or these are five people of 4 different roles, or why 20?
Why 20? Okay, so 20 is just a general advice. Usually when you research any kind of topic on the interviews, if you hear the same insights on 6 in 6 of the interviews, you can stop doing the interviews. If you do not hear any kind of new information, you can also stop doing interviews. Just from my personal experience, 20 to 30 interviews is enough for anything, but onboarding is such a broad topic. In our example, we have at least 3 or 4 use cases. That's why, yes, we need to have more. But if you hear repeated information again and again, you can stop after 6, 7, 8, something like that.
Nielsen and Norman say 5.
5, if you have 5 the same insights in 5 interviews, yeah, that's already I don't remember, but 70% that all the general population has the same problem. Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think we had one more, yeah, over there. And one more closer. And okay. Do we have time? Yeah, we have some time for more questions.
Thank you for the presentation. My name is Max. I'm product manager at Chanty and Ideals. And I wonder, which framework do you use to validate experiments, hypotheses, ideas, and how do you choose how long you will run it, and how many data do you need for it? It's really curious question.
I think this is a question for maybe an hour.
Yeah, maybe in a few years.
Yeah. Maybe we can talk later about this, but yeah, it's a huge question. I cannot just answer it in 5 minutes. You should have enough traffic to validate. If you have 2 versions of the same onboarding flow, you should have enough traffic to understand if the change is statistically significant. You can use specific calculators to understand that, and you need to be able to run this experiment in your infrastructure if you have it. So these are very general things. So yeah, maybe let's talk after the talk.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I will try to find you. Thank you.
Big one.
Okay.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you for your speech. I have 2 questions, actually. One is, what is the activation metric at PandaDoc? When do you consider users to be activated? And secondly, how many users churn at the activation stage? What's the conversion rate from registrations to activations?
So
And do you consider that number good or bad?
Yeah, of course we consider like it's not good enough. So our activation rate metric changed over time. So in the very beginning we had activation defined as the sent, just a document that is being sent to someone. This wasn't good enough because definitely you can send the document by email, you can send the document like people who use Google Docs can just share a link to the document in the same way they can share a PandaDoc. It doesn't really mean they understand why we're better than DocuSign, than Google Doc, than just all the way of doing things. That's why we changed like the activation metric to be a document that is not only sent, but also completed by the third party that the person is sending it to. And this completion should not be like from his own domain, but it should be from some external company he is transacting with. So this is our current definition of the activation metric. What was the second question?
How many users churn at activation?
How many users churn at activation? I cannot say that from stage, so maybe we can talk again like quite a lot. I would say like I'm not happy with it. We have a lot of low intent traffic. That's also a problem in our case. We have like a lot of traffic and we have a lot of signups. Unfortunately, a lot of these signups, they do not only activate, they do not convert. And so we're now trying to at least address this question as well, is to remove this low intent traffic from trials and let them stay on the free plan of PandaDoc and stay in the way that they do not actually decrease our activation and conversion rates, because we know already that people who are coming from specific channels, for example, they do not convert right away. They need some additional nurture period, and in order to do that, like we're like changing this by moving this low intent traffic outside of the trial.
Thank you.
Okay, I see more hands there. Yep, right here, right here. Yep.
Oh, nice, so many questions.
So thank you for your talk. 2 questions. First, can you give examples of some bottleneck you had inside the product, in the product workflow, and how you have overcome them? Second one, how do you work with retention? How do you make users come back to PandaDoc and use it again?
Okay, the first question, our biggest roadblock is like data entry. Like people usually already have some specific documents that they want to send, and they are trying to replicate these documents inside of PandaDoc. When we found this out, well, first of all, we have a gallery of ready-made templates that we're showing during the first. We're trying to promote it more from the inside of the application, that you can use ready templates. Instead of trying to upload your own documents, try using our document and change the information, just a couple of things here and there, so that you're able to send already good-looking documents. This doesn't work for everyone, because many people have very complicated things. So we also have people assistants who are helping to convert your documents into PandaDoc format. Because we understand, like, once people do that, once people set it up, they are starting to get value. And this is our current biggest roadblock. I think we will be doing more in that direction, because it's really hard. It's really hard to get started, and then, but when you are started, like, you're doing good. Second question about retention. How do we retain our users? So we retain our users by giving them value. So specifically, again, they compare us with old ways of them doing things. So if people have any kind of documents they're sending, they just know that they will be able to do that through PandaDoc. So specifically for retention, we have tried 2 things. One is, again, this personal assistance, personal manager, 24/7 support, very proactive reach out to people, telling that we're here to help and we're helping them. The second thing we did was like an email report that reports to the people who make decisions, to the admins of PandaDoc accounts, to show the activity in the account through the week and through the months. And so they see that, for example, your team has sent like 200 documents this month, and you have closed deals for $20,000. And so these people see that someone at their company is using PandaDoc, and PandaDoc is bringing them value. That's what we do specifically for retention. yeah, we're like very customer oriented, so we talk to customers a lot. All our product managers are, we collect like a lot of customer feedback, and we're trying again to retain users through giving them like a way of being heard, and we communicate a lot with people of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and so on. So it's not like very growth hacking approach, nothing like that, but it's more about the work, like constant communication with the customer and getting closer to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we had questions here as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I answered them. Yay.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. No? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.